Hello and welcome to Prime Time Pastimes, the podcast where we usually talk to people in the wrestling space about their passions outside of wrestling, but not today. Not today. I'm one of your hosts, Steve, along with my other host, Gav. Say hello, Gav.
Hello.
Joining us today, we also have our wonderful producer, Lauren. Say hello, Lauren.
Hi.
So today is the first of our bonus episodes where we take a look at our favourite pastime, the one that connects us all, professional wrestling. So put that cigarette out, because with a tear in my eye, we're going to be taking a look at 1992's WWF Royal Rumble. Before we do a deep dive into the show, this is a show that I have seen a lot, and I'm going to talk about everybody else's relationship. So first of all, Gav, before we go into how you feel about it now, how did you feel about it? When did you see it? Let's talk about it.
I actually saw it live at, I think I was kind of babysitting for one of my dad's friends. He was in the army, but because obviously we were like in an army camp, I was able to babysit younger because it was a safe area. And he had Sky, we didn't have it, and literally I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Royal Rumble's on. And I knew it was obviously the second one, because I've seen the first one live before that as well. So yeah, I watched it as it happened.
Fantastic. I had a similar thing. I watched it at a friend's house the day after it aired. So it wasn't quite live, but it was nearly live, damn it. What did you think about it at the time then, Gav?
Oh, loved it. Absolutely loved it at the time. There was nothing like it, I don't think, really. So, and then I think it was some of the characters, like Sid Justice, blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Undertaker was a bit more in it. Obviously, Legion of Doom, probably one of my favourite tag teams ever.
What a rush.
It had a lot of stuff going on. I just remember it being a really fun show.
Yeah, much the same for me. This is one of the shows that I would always tell people to watch if they're new to wrestling, specifically the Rumble match more than anything else. Yeah, it is one that I hang my hat on as being the greatest Royal Rumble of all time. Right, Lauren, what's your experiences prior to this with the Royal Rumble? Were you aware of it?
No. So not as in this Rumble specifically. I wasn't born yet. Just to make you both feel really old. I was born 2 years later. So yeah, it's not, Royal Rumbles are never something that I've hugely been back and watched. Anyone that knows me knows I will never claim to know much about historical WWE. I watched mostly Monday Night Wars stuff when I go backwards. So yeah, old Royal Rumbles are not a forte of mine. However, I do love a Rumble. So I was excited. But
one more question about this then, really quickly, because I mean, a peek behind the curtain. One of the reasons why we're doing this bonus episode, I like to refer to it as educating Lauren, because I know that Lauren wasn't aware of a lot of the older wrestling stuff, so I thought this is a good way of sort of introducing that to her. So at the very least, she understands people like me and Gavin, what we go on about as our passions.
Yeah.
So, had you heard that the Royal Rumble '92 was particularly specific, particularly important, Lauren, or
No.
prolific?
No, not
nothing at all.
I had no sort of. It's not like, obviously there's big moments in histories of, like, you've got Undertaker's streak being broken, you've got all the Triple H, Shawn Michaels matches and all that kind of stuff at WrestleManias, and you've got the Hell in the Cells of Foley and Undertaker, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm aware of, and I've been back and watched a good chunk of it. But '92 Royal Rumble was never something that's crossed my radar.
And that's absolutely fine. Well, I'm glad that we can not only put this on your radar, but fire both battleship guns blazing at the... I'm just going to stop this analogy. Right, let's talk about the facts of the show first of all. So this is the most star-studded Rumble in history, with 16 Hall of Famers, 8 of which were either former or future WWF/WWE champions. This was a time where the UK had only just really started latched onto the American style of wrestling, thanks to its prominence on Sky TV in around 1991. So it was incredibly popular for a few years in the UK and in Europe. Despite its newfound popularity in the UK, this was really the start of the decline for the golden era of WWF. Thanks in large part due to the steroid scandal of 1991, which would rear its head for several years. The buy rate for this show was actually down almost half of what it was in 1991. This is the first Royal Rumble match with true stakes to it, with the winner being declared the WWF champion at the end. Prior winners didn't receive the usual title shot at Mania. That only came into things in 1993 with Yokozuna. Spoiler alert for 1993's Royal Rumble, I guess. The winner of this Rumble was Ric Flair. He was only the second man to ever hold the NWA and WWF championship. The first was the inaugural champion and namesake of Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers. So, hope you enjoyed that little bit of factual action right there. Let's break down the show itself. So, I want to talk about the opening graphics with everyone's names popping up. That brought back a huge shot.
This really upset me.
Why?
I knew it would.
Why? Rumbles are I feel like people's criticism of this year's Rumble has mostly been, I think most people have been, the people that don't like it haven't liked it because there was no big surprises. Like, everyone was sort of current roster members, apart from, like, one. Why on earth did they announce every single entrant? Like, as
it was a simpler time, Lauren. It was a simpler time.
As someone coming from modern wrestling going back, I saw all these names start flashing up, and I'm like, there's a lot of matches going on here. And then Gav went, all the entrants have been announced. What do you think of that? And I'm like, you mean they're all the people in the Rumble? Like, no.
You've got to sell it first.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with Gav on this. I miss it. I'd love to see this be brought back. Maybe not with Vince McMahon's voice. Doing this every time. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was so good, and it was a punch right in the nostalgia glands. I thought it was great.
50% of a Rumble maximum. Don't announce anymore.
Was a simpler time.
No, Brit Rest is just because you can't confirm more than 50% of a Rumble.
Well, at least people aren't getting eliminated when other people are coming in. That is a staple of Brit Rest as well. What about you, Gav? Did you like the opening?
I do remember it being obviously that way, and obviously I'd completely forgotten that it was instantly told who was in it. But obviously, whose order was coming in was the surprise. It wasn't who was in it. So I think it still works for me because I'm old, so I remember it.
Right in the nostalgia glands.
Yeah.
Right, so match one, we have got the Orient Express, which is Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond under the mask as Kato versus the former Bad Company. It used to be Saito and Tanaka, but yeah, they brought Kato back in. Versus the New Foundation, which is, of course, Jim the Anvil Neidhart and the Rocket Owen Hart.
No, Paddy Pimblett.
Will you stop? That's another little wrestling thing. I've just listened to a 16-hour audiobook of Gorilla Monsoon, so he's very much on my mind at the moment.
Right.
I'm going to ask Lauren first of all. What did you think of this match, Lauren?
Firstly, my first note that I have written down was a commentary, or was it the announcer? I can't remember which one. But coming down the aisle.
That was always the thing.
That was the thing.
Well, no. Making his way to the ring
Lauren,
sounds way
Lauren,
better.
what's wrong with the phrase coming down the aisle?
It's not an aisle. It's a ramp. An aisle is
Okay.
for weddings.
Okay.
They might have been getting married later. We did.
Don't start.
Will
But
you?
yeah, no, I had mixed feelings about this match. There was some I've actually there were some aspects that I quite enjoyed. My favourite part of it that I have written down, and I kind of want someone in Brit Rest to I can't think of the word, like to bring it back.
Regurgitate.
No, not regurgitate. But when the anvil gets slingshotted from the top rope, I really like that move. That's a really cool move.
Classic finisher.
Yeah, he used to do it all the time with the Heart Foundation, the old school Heart Foundation. It was great.
I really enjoy that, and I think that needs to be brought back. I was also very Owen Hart. Obviously, I've never seen that. Obviously, I know a lot about Owen Hart, but I've never seen much of his in ring. And the speed that man moves through the ring, he's so clean on so much of his stuff, and there's a technicality to his wrestling that you don't really see throughout the rest of the show.
You certainly didn't see it before then, really, either. He was very big in Japan just prior to this, and he had a little run in the WWF as the Blue Blazer, but his stuff was toned down quite a lot. Yeah, he was very innovative. I've said this numerous times. He's in my top 4 performers of all time, up there with Brett. I think I can't say enough positive things about Owen, and I think this was very much a match to elevate him, because he was very much the new kid on the block here. Even though he'd been under a mask, they were trying to establish him more than anything else.
Yeah.
What do you think about the way people sold for him? Because one thing that I don't think ever gets enough credit is Pat Tanaka. The way he bumps, he sells like $1 million. He's just so fast and explosive on those bumps. I think that's in many ways it was just as much his match as it was Owens.
Yeah, you could definitely. It's one of those things that we always talk about in wrestling, isn't it? If you can be as good as you could be the best in the world, if you're in there with the sack spuds, you're not going to look great.
Yeah.
It takes two to tango, and he's definitely the Orient Express definitely help get them across massively by what they do. Their sort of shitty little heel work and stuff. I wasn't a fan of the amount of ref distractions that were
don't get me started.
Like, I'm sorry, but how do you miss a tag team throwing their opponent around the ring a foot behind you just because someone's talking to you?
They utterly buried the ref on that match. That was one of my talking points, because I've watched this maybe 10 years ago, and I had the same thoughts then, but they really shit on the ref in this match. And he's not a well-known ref either, I don't believe. But yeah, they were doing stuff very, very close to him, ignoring 5 counts to the point where he had to just give up. Did you notice?
I did think, aside from that, I did think their general sort of shithousery and the way they behaved in the ring really helped elevate the new foundation, which they really needed, considering they looked like shit golfers.
Yeah, just woke up.
Just
one more.
Go on.
No, I was just going to say, just before we move on, I just want to just say one more thing about the ref in this. Did anybody notice that Owen Hart was not the legal person, and he got the pin illegally?
No, I didn't notice that bit.
Yeah, so I did, and I've known this for a little while, and it has annoyed me for years. The rocket and the rocket launcher bit, it should have been Jim Neidhart that went for the pin. But as we know, if he'd have said no, you're not legal, he'd have been the one in the wrong. So it's fine. But I am going to declare the winner of that match the Orient Express by default.
Yeah.
So,
but
sorry, Gav.
Sorry, go on, Gav.
I think Owen is a better wrestler because of his character work than Brett ever was. Really do. I know it's a hot take and people won't agree with it, but I think as a character, along with his skill, he was better. I really do.
I had this thought for many, many, many years, and I changed my mind a few years ago when I realized how much effort Brett put into the structure of the match. I think Owen was great at getting himself over, and he was a great character. But I think I can't put him above Brett. I can't put him below Brett either, but I can't put him above Brett because of the way Brett structured a match. Absolutely phenomenal. And my favorite storyline in professional wrestling is Brett versus Owen. I just think it's a flawless story. So yeah, both of those people very, very high up on my list of folk. Was this the first time you seen Mr. Fuji, Lauren?
Yes.
Thought it might.
What do you think?
I don't know. I think it was. I don't think I saw enough of him. I feel like that was kind of my vibe through a lot of this show. Was I felt like I was missing something, like a lot of the management stuff and things like that. I was like, it felt like I was missing information that I needed to invest.
I get that a lot.
But while I laughed when you initially said this was the show you would sort of tell people to watch if they were new to wrestling, I feel like this match, I agree with you, it kind of goes downhill from here in my opinion. But no, this has definitely made me want to go back and watch a lot more of Owen's stuff, because I feel like he's like the OG of my favourite style of wrestling.
I know that you've done this not intentionally, but you call him the OG. You know his son's called Oj.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go. Also, another quick fact about Owen Hart, which I think you'll enjoy. Kevin Owens was originally called Kevin Steen on the Indies. Do you know why he's called Kevin Owens?
I assume because of Owen.
Because of Owen Hart, but in a roundabout way, he named his own son Owen. So Kevin Owens is actually short for Kevin, Owen's dad.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's nice.
Isn't it lovely that?
Yeah, I like that.
So, anything else we need to talk about that match? I think that match was a little bit long, but I enjoyed that.
It did feel a bit long. I think it set the tone for sort of what I was expecting for the rest of the show. The fact there was cheers for a hip toss, really sort of lowered my expectations. And the other thing that the final thing that really sort of jumped into my mind when I first saw these four guys get in the ring was Tanaka was shoeless. So why is everybody so confused by Speedball Mike Bailey right now? Like, people, when Speedball gets in the ring, everyone's like, I don't understand how he can wrestle shoeless. Why would you do that? And I'm like, guys, it's just happened in 1992.
Lots of classic guys used to wrestle shoeless.
I did notice there was someone else in the Rumble, I think it was, that was also shoeless. And I'm like...
Haku.
Yeah, Haku.
That was it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Haku was one of them. Kevin Von Erich used to wrestle shoeless, and he isn't one of the Islander boys like a lot of the Samoan guys. Lots of people used to wrestle shoeless.
Wasn't Snooker shoeless?
Snooker wasn't shoeless in this. He's wearing the really weird long boy pants, which made me feel things. Yeah. But yeah, usually he was also a shoeless boy. Let's move on. Match number 2, the Mountie.
Before we jump on to match number 2, I have notes from the in between.
You tell me the in between notes. I'm happy to talk in between.
One, I had a really weird, really probably me specific issue in the fact that for such a huge promotion, and I know it grew as time went on and blah, 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 but still, the WWF was like the biggest at the time.
Could call it the leader in sports entertainment.
Yeah, you could. But they couldn't iron the flags that were behind them or the ring skirts. Like, I know this is a very me specific issue. However, that really bugged me. Also,
Are you saying that ring was hurting for a skirting?
yeah, the weird Englishman.
Lord Alfred Hayes.
He's a very
fella, yeah.
Confused by the weird Englishman and his Coliseum TV or whatever the hell it was.
Coliseum video, yeah.
Also, Roddy Piper made me never want to see him ever again with that weird wheezing and the stare. That was just a no from me, thank you.
So I'm not gonna get into slagging off wrestlers on these things because I want this to be a very, very joyous and positive experience. We could have said things about Fuji, we could have said things about Snooker. Not going to. I am going to make a little bit of an exception for Roddy Piper. Some of the stuff he says does not age well.
I didn't even hear most of what he said because I was just so terrified by the weird stare and the wheezing going on.
Yeah.
Like that man sounded like he needed an inhaler.
Honestly, I can't wait for you to watch more of these old shows. I really, really can't. I can't wait for you to watch the match where he fights Bad News Brown. No spoilies, but problematic.
I can't wait for the match I'm in interviews.
They aren't as bad as some interviews. Whilst we're talking about Roddy Piper, and before I actually announce what this match is, what do you know, Gav, about the build-up to this match and why there is a Bret Hart-shaped hole in this match?
I'm trying to remember now.
Let me refresh your memory a little bit. So, what had happened is that coming up to the end of 1991, about 3/4 of the way through the year, there was problems with Ric Flair in the NWA WCW. Basically, Jim Herd, I almost called him Bill Herd then, I don't know why. Jim Herd, who was the owner of, the director of WCW at that point, he wanted to change everything about Ric Flair. He wanted to call him Spartacus, shave his head, give him a Roman gimmick, and they had a big fallout. There was a thing with the old big gold belt where they put 25 grand up as a deposit whenever you won that thing. So the champion had always put 25 grand down, and they would get that back when dropping the title plus interest. Jim Herd refused to do this. So Ric Flair moved to the WWF with the big gold belt, and you'll remember this, Gav. He showed up on the shows. They had to blur the big gold belt out because of legal issues. Until several months after that, they finally agreed to pay him his money, and he sent the gold back, which led him to say that he was the real world champion. You may say, what has this got to do with the Mountie and Roddy Piper? I'll tell you. So Bret Hart's contract was coming up in 1991. He was considering leaving for the WCW with the Intercontinental Championship, according to many. So there was talk about him showing up on WCW in the same way that Flair had, with the Intercontinental title. Long story short, his title elapsed. His contract elapsed and rolled over. So he was contracted for another period of time, but it was still shaky ground there for a little bit. So they took the championship off Bret Hart quite fast, gave it to the Mountie so that Roddy Piper could win it, and then eventually see where the lay of the land is, and set up a match at WrestleMania 8 between two close friends. But that's always a nice little tidbit of knowledge, because years later, when the Montreal Screwjob happened, a lot of people would say, well, Bret Hart's not going to be the type of person that would show up on WCW with the championship. Who knows? Because there was talk of it at this point. Now, it's all speculation. It's all rumors. Some sources will say that it's not true. Some will say it's 100% true. But yeah, that's just a little bit of back stuff about this, and it does sort of inform what would later happen. Yeah. So that's why we end up with Roddy Piper versus the Mountie, and we don't have Bret Hart on this pay-per-view card, which is a real shame because of so many other people that are on it. What did you think of this match, Gav?
I was never a fan of the Mountie ever.
Really?
No, I never got him. I never got it. Never got it. I was always a big guy fan. I like the big killers. I was never, other than Owen Hart, because obviously he was groundbreaking with what he did.
He was.
I was never a Roddy fan. If I remember rightly, this were probably switched off from the pay-per-view because neither of them are big on my list.
Oh, that's fair enough. I really like Jacques Rougeau. I liked him as the Quebecers, liked him as the Fabulous Rougeau brothers. I liked him as the Mountie. Big fan. It wasn't much of a match, really. It was really more of a scuffle, followed by a very, very, very weird cattle prod noise that go throughout the arena. Rather than the actual match, Lauren, what do you think of the characters of Roddy Piper and the Mountie?
Not a right lot. I've literally got no notes from this match other than the finish.
There you
go. That's how little they made me give a shit. Like I say, Roddy Piper had already sort of ruined it with me with that promo.
Dead chat.
My main thing was how, and this became a running theme throughout the whole pay-per-view for me, was considering what I know of Vince and how much he likes the big guys and stuff like that. So many of the talent on this show looked so normal. Like
there are reasons for that.
Yeah. Obviously, I hadn't put two and two together of the time frames until you mentioned it at the start of the show. But yeah, I didn't really. The main thing I got was the Mountie seemed to be sort of the stereotypical, almost going back to the territories type stuff of he's Canadian, so we don't like him. That was kind of the vibe that I got. It didn't feel like there was much depth to the character. It was just he's Canadian, he's the bad guy. Like, even though the commentary were slagging off Piper for wearing a skirt and all that kind of stuff. I just didn't really get much.
Did you like Heenan on commentary? I loved Heenan. I really did. I used to love Heenan.
I think Heenan's the MVP of this show.
Yeah, I did enjoy the commentary. I can't say that it hugely stood. It was too constant. Like, obviously now the commentary has evolved and people have sort of learned to understand there's moments that you've got to let it breathe. You don't always have to talk over everything and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like after listening to this, I understand why Booker T is the way he is and the way he commentates. Like, it's so constant and over the top that I think I just ended up tuning it out a little bit. There were bits where I heard, like, and it was entertaining, it was funny, but yeah, it was just a little bit constant for me. But I've heard much worse commentary, let's put it that way.
I genuinely think that this commentary track is the greatest commentary track of all time. I think the show would not be the same without this commentary track. But I do appreciate it is from a different time. It is something that I grew up with, nostalgia, and it is a very, very different style. I will just finish up on this match by saying I actually quite enjoyed this for what it was. I don't think Roddy Piper was a groundbreaking in-ring performer. Yes, he was in the first WrestleMania, but he didn't do a whole lot in the main event there, in my opinion. I would actually put this as number 3. Pardon me, stuttering then. Number 3 of his top 3 matches, behind the WrestleMania 8 match with Bret Hart, the Starrcade dog collar match with Greg Valentine, and this. Whilst a lot didn't happen, it was really fast paced. It felt like a massive, massive scuffle. So yeah, for me, it's this and it's the Goldust match that comes a few years later that are going for the top 3.
Yeah. I think for me, it was it was clearly a good match, because when it got to the finish, I kind of went, "Oh, it's over."
It was only 6 minutes as well. That helps.
Yeah, but the finish felt very anticlimactic, like with the weird cattle prod thing. It was like I know it was like an added extra at the end, and again, we're looking at very different times of wrestling. But to me, I sat there, I watched the end of the match, and I was like, well, is that it over? I was confused because there was no hit of music, there was no announcement. That was sort of weirdly delayed while they did the cattle prod thing, whereas I feel like now you would have the music and the announcement, and then they would go back and do the extras. And it was a weird finish for me, but it definitely felt like quite an intense match.
I think so too. Match 3, the Beverly Buddies. I don't know what I'm talking about there. The Beverly Brothers versus the Bushwhackers. I can honestly say 100% of the kids that get licked in this show are featured in this match. I'm going to start talking about this one. I'm going to talk about this one. It shouldn't have been on the card. It is absolutely bloody awful. I actually quite like both teams, and we'll get into this in a few minutes. But I feel like you'd have really liked the Bushwhackers a few years prior to this. But yeah, this was just bloody awful.
Before this, I remember them being much more like the Briscoes. They actually did metal.
They were the sheep herders back in the NWA, and more prolific. They were in not Mid-South, in Memphis. They had a series of barbed wire cage matches, which is really the precursor to death matches, with the Fantastics, which is Steve Kern, the guy that plays Skinner later on in the show, and Bobby Fulton. I sent one of our mutual friends, Jack Johnson, one of the sheep herders matches a few weeks ago, because it came up in conversation weirdly. But yeah, that was then. This is now. Licking kids, bringing Jameson to the ring. Awful. Just unwatchable.
Was Jameson a celebrity of his own right? What was he?
Oh, do you not know this? Okay.
No.
Looks like fucking Screech from Saved by the Bell.
So, Jameson, you know the guy that on commentary, Bobby Heenan, maybe about a year prior to this, maybe 2 years prior to this, they did Primetime Wrestling. They had segments of Primetime Wrestling called the Bobby Heenan Show, which was a talk show. And there was a couple of regular guests, and he was one of the. He was like sidekick. He was like one of the regular guests, the goofy sidekick that went along with Bobby Heenan. The reason he got the job is because you know the restaurant Medieval Times, where everyone's dead theatrical and everything. It was like one of these restaurants, but like a murder mystery type thing, I believe, if memory serves. I could be wrong. Linda and Vince McMahon met him at one of these as a performer. I said, "I've got a job for you, pal," and they got him involved with professional wrestling, and everyone died a little inside afterwards. Not his fault at all. But yeah, not good. So, Lauren, what do you think of the match?
Who are the Beverly Brothers? Because one of them I feel like I recognise.
I bet you thought it was Crush, and it's not.
Which one looks like Crush?
I think the mulleted guy looks a bit like Crush.
Got mullets, haven't they? So they were. I forget the name of the tag team now. The Construction Crew or something. They were again another AWA tag team, like Bad Company, Orange Express earlier.
So neither of them went on to be like huge stars or.
They were
One of
enhancement
them looked
talent.
quite familiar.
Yeah, one of them is there was a guy in NXT a few years ago, and he was his son. I really can't remember
That
the guy's
might be
name
it.
now. I very much apologise for it. Big tall guy got released last year, I think. Oh, it's going to kill me, but I can't remember his name. Anyway, that's his son. But yeah, they didn't really do anything. The other guy, Bo Beverly, he was in the ring when Scott Hall came down in the Nitro show where the NWO first started. So that's sort of the only real prominent thing he did after this. Basically, they were sort of perennial enhancement talent. But enhancement talent to the stars. So, they had a fairly decent run. They were in tag team title matches, etc. You might have, I'll tell you what, you might have seen them online because they had a particularly devastating finisher where there was like a back body drop and then the guy got spiked down on the head.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, such a rough looking finisher that's probably why the match ended with the awful double axe handle, which I've never seen win a match ever. That's probably why, because I can't see, because both Luke and Butch were getting on a little bit right now, so I can't see either of them wanting to do that. For the love of wrestling, Luke's there, so someone can ask him for me. That'd be great.
It's a lot of
Von Wagner was
Von Wagner.
the guy.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Sorry, I was listening to what was going on. I was just actually Googling that because I was wondering if that was why I recognised him.
Yeah, and his dad's name was Wayne something. Wayne Bloom. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, so that could be why. Gav, any thoughts on this match?
I forgot how little wrestling the Bushwhackers did in that run. It was literally look at the crowd, give it some of this, lick some heads, and off you go.
Yeah.
With the what did they call the finisher with the headbutt?
The battering ram.
Battering ram.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So again,
I was extremely confused by the Bushwhackers.
Yeah. These are confusing times.
Bearing in mind, I have seen a lot of nonsense wrestling in the last 10 years that I have been around BritWres. That was probably the most nonsense match I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, so it's just nothing good to say about that match.
Llewellyn Bowen looking guy in a graduation gown. What?
So you don't know who the genius is?
No.
Okay, so Leaping Lanny Poffo was his previous name, son of Angelo Poffo and the brother of the Macho Man Randy Savage, which is why he kept getting employed at places. And that is the third most impressive fact about Lanny Poffo. Google it. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to Google it.
Yeah, so because I'm certainly not going to say that here, but yeah, Google how flexible Lanny Poffo is.
But yeah, like Bushwhackers promos, just wow. When I had an issue with Roddy Piper's promo, and then the Bushwhackers came on, I was like, "Hey, Roddy's not that
bad." Just one more thing, real quick. I just want to retract a statement I just made, Louis. If you are listening to this, do not Google what I just told you to Google.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If we get to this point, Louis will already have Googled it.
Probably.
Don't do it. Okay.
Yeah, so confused by this match. Licking children, clearly very different times.
And he'll remember it for the rest of his life, don't forget.
Yeah, the fact that was just okay, or anyone thought that was a good idea. How did it sort of move the characters? I don't know what purpose it served. Also, probably my biggest issue with this match, and I can't even remember who did it, was, I'm going to say it's the biggest issue, it's the one thing that stood out as extremely, extremely weird. One of them was trying to get the crowd to start clapping. You know, obviously, wrestlers will slap the mat and things like that. Someone, I think it was a Bushwhacker, I can't be sure, did like a weird fish flop on their side. and like kicked the mat and hit it at the same time. And,
like a flopping fish.
Yeah, and I was just so confused.
I mean, again, that's not the weirdest thing in this match. So I just don't know what to tell you. Yeah.
I'm also my camera seems to be doing really weird things. I feel like I'm going black and white and then coming back to colour. I don't know what's going on. So apologies for anyone that's watching.
I just thought you were going through a depression cycle after all the licking of kids and stuff.
The emotions, of the show.
Yeah, but Lauren, my cameras read the room and realised this is a sad moment for wrestling.
Lauren, I will message you later on and tell you what the Genius is famous for. Don't worry, you don't have to Google it. Right, match 4: Legion of Doom versus the Natural Disasters. What do you reckon, Gav?
I love Legion of Doom, but I remember them being a hell of a lot better than this. I really do.
Not a great match as far as I'm concerned.
No. I think the fitness levels of the Natural Disasters were definitely part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because they could go. They really did.
They could.
And this, they just seem to be... just...
Honestly, I would have preferred all 4 men to have just been in the Rumble match. For me, there was no point in this match being here. It just didn't do anything. I said that the most skippable match was Bushwhackers and Beverly Brothers. This comes a very close second to me.
There was... For a Legion of Doom match, it was so bland. It was bland.
Now, your guys' reaction to this match is making me question myself. And I really want to watch more of these 2 tag teams now, because I actually really enjoyed this match.
Okay.
I think this is an anomaly
on the show so far.
I think it's an anomaly. I think both teams are great. I really, really do. I don't think there was any chemistry in this match whatsoever. I think the Road Warrior pop was there originally, and then the attitude was there, etc. But they just seemed to phone it in. And they were halfway out of the company at this point as well, because 6 months later, Hawk would get to Wembley and then just sort of go missing for a few days, and they would leave and they wouldn't tag together for another few years. So I think they were halfway out. If you do want to watch Legion of Doom matches, some great matches with Power and Glory, some great matches with the Nasty Boys, as the and the Heart Foundation as well, as the Road Warriors, Arn and Tully. Honestly, loads of great matches with LOD. But this ain't one of them.
They were the first ones I thought when I watched them where you could kind of go, "Is this real?" That was the vibe I got off them when I first started watching them. You almost look at it and go, "These guys aren't faking this."
I think it's the shoulder pads that made me think they were perhaps faking it.
Yeah, but as I mean, in the ring, it's like they were the stiff. They were stiff workers. They really did hit you, because it wasn't a lot of that in WWF at the time. There was not a lot of full contact.
Yeah, see, I find, again, the fact that you guys have said that this was a very dialed-in match and stuff, one of my notes that I wrote down watching this was that the Natural Disasters seemed way more agile than I anticipated.
Oh, they were way better than this.
They give me real sort of... I see where Will Cruz has come from. Yeah. Because it's one of those, you look at them and you think they're just going to be a big wrecking ball and they're just going to run at someone and flatten them, when actually they can do a hell of a lot more. So the fact that
Earthquake was a legitimate...
dialed in, I'm more intrigued. But I think the reason I enjoyed it more was, obviously, I've been looking at the psychology of wrestling a lot more recently, and sort of like, we've listened to Isaac North was on the Wrestle Wellbeing podcast recently, talking about the psychology of how to be a monster in wrestling and things like that. And that was one thing I sort of picked up, even though you guys say, like, in the long-term storytelling, there was no reason for this match. I thought the actual story of the match, where sort of Legion of Doom really had to wear the natural disasters out before they could actually take them down. I quite enjoyed that and the dynamics of the match.
I think the problem is that we've seen so many better matches of them. I think that's where we're coming from with it.
That's all it is.
For me, this is the first time I've seen highlights of the Legion of Doom. I've never seen the natural disasters. So for me, this was a first time. So, like I say, makes me really interested to go and watch more of their stuff. The biggest thing for me, I think, that stood out as making it a well-done match was the fact that it was a count-out championship retention for a face team, which you don't usually get. You usually get the bad guys running away with the titles and getting to keep it because they've been counted out. But it didn't feel weird. It was done so well within the story of the match that you don't question it. Whereas a lot of the time when it's the good guys doing something like not winning honourably, we all kind of go, that doesn't make sense. Whereas I think they told the story through the match that well, that it did make sense. So, like I say, I will be definitely going back and watching some more Legion of Doom and Natural Disasters after this.
I do agree with what you said there, and I think that the reason again why it just felt like a bit of a softer finish than perhaps you saw it is we've just seen something very, very similar happen in the match beforehand. There's been a bit of a crappy finish, and then the face team gets the one up the bell to send everyone home happy. So, having just seen something very, very similar, and again knowing full well that they have done better matches with each other other times, I think that's why it didn't land as well for me. But perhaps I'm being a bit overly harsh on it because I do enjoy both teams. If you are wanting to watch natural disasters matches, they have a couple of great ones with really the Beverly Brothers, and they also have a couple of great ones with Money Incorporated, which is $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Erwin R. Shyster, who you will see a little bit later on.
And also Legion of Doom, if you want to watch Demolition and Legion of Doom, that was good.
Yeah, very, very much so. And especially the three-man team of Demolition at Survivor Series 90.
With Crush.
Well, with Kona Crush, the guy that you say looks like one of the Beverly Brothers.
He does a little bit
of a look. He's obsessed with Crush. If he was getting in the ring, he would be as close to Crush as he could.
Understood. Right. So, anything else we need to talk about with that match? Or are we all done with that?
No, I think we're done with that one. We can move on.
So let's talk about the Royal Rumble build-up. There's some good promos in this, and there are some bad promos in this. I love Sid Justice talking through his teeth. That's something so silly that I just love. And a lot of time is spent with Shawn Michaels talking about the barbershop. Lauren, what do you think?
Honestly, I think I tuned out through most of these promos.
Understandable.
Again, the barbershop is something that I've seen mentioned. Obviously, I think they had it at Footlow last year or the year before. But
I've got a T-shirt with it that you've seen.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yep. I'm wearing it right now.
Yeah, it was just very random. I don't know. It just all felt... The promos all felt very scripted. Everyone spent too long talking directly at the camera. There was either way too much emotion or no emotion.
There's a lot of teeth in it as well.
A lot of teeth and some really bad teeth.
Wow. A lot of this is because of the Coliseum video stuff, as you mentioned earlier. There was a big push in the early 90s of Coliseum video having all these exclusive interviews, etc. So it just sort of elongated the process a little bit more than anything. I really enjoyed some of them. I think it set the scene. And one thing that I think we'll get into, but I think one thing that the Rumble match itself does really well is it's the first real Rumble match that you see intertwined storylines happening all in one match. And I think that with the Jake Roberts and the Randy Savage stuff,
that was a big.
Establishing Shawn Michaels, I think there's just a lot of meat on the bone here. So again, we talked very, very briefly about the steroid scandal here, and Hulk Hogan really making a lot of weird gestures towards T and Alfred Hayes, Lord Alfred Hayes, etc. Again, the reason that promo was he was trying to like crack a few jokes, etc., is going on to the steroid trial. Arsenio Hall show. He went on Arsenio Hall. Who, for those who don't know, is Eddie Murphy's sidekick from the film Coming to America. He basically went on the show and said that he didn't take steroids when there was lots and lots of evidence that he did take steroids, and he had to retract it. So Hulk Hogan going into the show was getting a lot of negative crowd reaction, which we will come into play a little bit later.
And looking at his body, he wasn't taking much steroids either.
No, he was coming down a little. Yeah, a lot of the people were. We were coming out of the golden era. We were entering the new foundation, the new generation. So yeah, a lot of smaller people on this show. So we're about to start the Rumble match. The first 5 participants in the Rumble match, number 1 and number 2, Ted DiBiase and the British Bulldog. Obviously, DiBiase is quickly eliminated. One of my favorite little moments in this Rumble is when Ric Flair comes out at number 3. You have almost a passing of the torch moment with Ted DiBiase, who was quite a similar character to Ric Flair in many ways, just no selling, walking past them, almost like a passing of the torch, saying, okay, my time on the main event's gone now, sort of your time. Ric Flair makes his debut, his big show debut, rather. Then we've got Jerry Sags out and we've got Haku out. What do you think about these guys? The first few minutes of the Rumble, what do you think, Lauren?
Obviously, with watching the Rumble that we've just had, one of my favourite things about that was that it was so unexpected. I think we're far enough away from the Rumble that we can spoil us, but Bron Breakker's rapid exit, if I hadn't have seen that before I saw this, I would have been like, holy shit, like as if someone's just gone straight out, because I really enjoyed that this year. So that was kind of, I liked the fact that there was something different being done even so early on in the Rumble. And I guess it was because obviously WWF were trying to find their feet with how Rumbles worked and things like that. Because I assume it was a very new concept.
Yeah, second.
This is the fourth one.
Is it fourth?
Fourth.
Wow.
But yeah, I enjoyed the sort of the big build up to the shit, he's gone already. What?
Yeah, because Haku was a monster and he'd gone.
Yeah, and Haku was only in this match because he was filling in for who's he filling in for? Was it either Jerry Sags or Marty Jannetty? Brian Knobbs or Marty Jannetty, because Brian Knobbs was stabbed.
I think it was
stabbed before this happened. And Marty Jannetty had just gotten done for it was either drugs or it was booze.
And so they did mention Jannetty in the show and say that he had been substituted. So
yeah, exactly. I love Haku, by the way. Great guy. Okay. I understand what you're saying about it being sort of immediate clothesline and that sort of taken away from everything. What do you think about the characters? I mean, obviously you didn't see enough of DiBiase. What do you think of the Bulldog at this point? Because this is quite showcased the Bulldog the first few minutes.
Yeah, he's almost like the Brock Lesnar. Obviously, what Brock does now, he basically decimates it. But that hair, wow! I didn't realise how fluffy at the front and just
very, very obvious extensions on this one. He hadn't been growing it out for long because he's not too far removed from splitting up with Dynamite Kid, really. He'd only been in WWF really for about a year by that point on his own.
He was really well built though in this one. He was still big.
Yeah,
still
but
very powerful.
It was very quickly sort of established that he was the dominant power, and it was Sags was the other person in.
Yeah, Nasty Boy Sags was the fourth person in. Immediately got kicked out, pretty much. It was basically.
I kind of want to see more of him because he just seemed to have that sort of. I think the closest thing I would relate him to from the clip was very Dean Ambrosey. He's got that sort of
Nasty Boy,
slight wild side that you can't quite predict what he's going to do, but he can go.
When we're done with this, you need to watch SummerSlam 90, 91. I can't remember. 91, because I think that's Nasty Boys versus LOD in it, like a big street fight. So I think you'll appreciate that.
But yeah, I was disappointed he went out so quick because I instantly had a liking for that character. He was very charismatic and very engaging, even in the short time. I was very disappointed at the lack of music in the Royal Rumble. I feel like that does so much for helping build the characters now. And sort of it's one of those things that I say to everybody that asks any advice from me from an announcing side. Anything you can do to help that sort of 7-second first impression, that includes what you give your announcer, your music, everything like that. And that was kind of lacking so early in the Royal Rumble. I didn't quite know whether people were coming out as good guys, bad guys.
Yep.
And I struggled with that the whole way through the Rumble, including with people like Bulldog and stuff like that. I couldn't tell you whether he was supposed to be heel or face. I knew he was dominant, and I enjoyed watching him, but I couldn't have guessed at anything else that was going on around this match. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fair. And like I say, the story for this was really, it was constantly Bulldog and Flair for this first bit of the Rumble. And I think it did a great job of establishing Bulldog as a dominant force, like you say. But yeah, perhaps you're right about the face dynamics and the heel dynamics. I do think it works to an extent, and we're going to skip forward a little bit here because everyone is sort of walking out the same. When Randy Savage just plows his way out of the entranceway later on, that really sells it because it's like, oh god, shit's just
can't wait to real. Get it.
Yeah.
So I do think it helps in that, but I fully understand your point. Just going on about Haku really, really quickly. Do you know who Haku is, Lauren?
He's part of the Anoa'i family, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Well, let's say he is. He's the father of two of the current WWE guys. Do you know who that is, Gaz?
It's
Gab?
Is it
the Gorillas of Destiny?
Eh?
The Gorillas of Destiny in New Japan. They are Tama Tonga, Tango Loa. Yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah, there's another one waiting in the wings.
The New Bloodline, whatever they were called, but
the MFTs.
That's it.
My family tree.
Who knows? Haku was also in the Bullet Club as well, by the way, very, very briefly as King Haku. So that's a bit of an interesting fact for you. Right, let's talk about the second five. So the ring's about to fill up a little bit more. People are going to stay in a little bit longer. We've got Shawn Michaels coming out in his new gimmick. He's just split from the Rockers, doing some very, very, very weird aerial stuff, getting twisted up and contorted in the ropes. El Matador, Tito Santana, the Barbarian, the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, and the Repo Man. Gav, did this punch you in the nostalgia gland?
I remember the Repo Man, and he used to annoy me in the first place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I loved Demolition, and I realised it was him, and not many people do. even now, if you say, "Oh, you do realise Repo Man was Axe," they go, "What?" They don't
Smash.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but
if you look at his tattoo, he's got the Russian tattoo from when he was in the Russian tag team, and I can't remember his name. But yeah, the Russian tattoo that he used to cover up with a knee pad is always there. What about Texas Tornado? I feel like you'd have fond memories of him.
I remember him a little bit, and I obviously mentioned it in the Rumble. Obviously, he had 1 foot at this point, and to do that on 1 foot, I'm sorry, but that still astounds me now what he could do. But it was crazy because I actually watched the documentary and learned a lot more about him, and then obviously checked the timeline. It's like, shit, yeah, this was after the bike crash.
Well, sadly, he was dead within a year. Yeah, very, 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 very sad. Lauren, I'm guessing you know about the Von Erichs, at least in passing.
From watching the documentary in the last couple of years. It's one of those that they're a name that I've sort of always known, but never really known much about. Like I say, watching the documentary, I'd learned a bit more like this, like you say, the 1 foot thing.
Well worth a deep dive if you ever get into it, because they're a fascinating family.
I found at this point it felt like everyone was very generic, and like, yeah, I loved Repo Man when he came out because I kind of went, oh, an actual character.
There was a bullfighter and a barbarian in there, and a guy that was a living tornado.
Yeah, but
I've just mentioned him.
There was nothing that made them sort of hugely stand out. I think everybody looked, again, going back to everybody looking quite normal, everybody looked very generic. It was all sort of, everyone was the same kind of height, everyone was the same kind of build.
Barbarian was a big dude, though.
I've got to disagree with almost everything you just said there, but it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, I found obviously Barbarian had the slightly different gear. He had the
Barbarian gear.
Yeah, the Neanderthal looking gear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found it very difficult to differentiate between any of them in the ring, other than like Repo Man or Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is the moment in the Rumble where, other than Shawn Michaels getting a bit contorted, this is very much, we need to start getting some people in here, setting up the next sort of big power spot, really.
Well, this was my sort of notes for this bit, was obviously Roddy just seemed to be no-selling loads of people.
Yeah, he does that. He did.
But yeah, my main thing was, it was at this point where I started thinking about a conversation I had last week of how many people should be in the ring in a Rumble. And it got I felt during this Rumble, it kind of got too much, then too few too soon, and then it kind of built back up, and it just felt very, like I say, I know we're in year 4, so they're still sort of getting to grips with how best to run it. But yeah, it just felt like at this point it got a bit chaotic, and I was a bit like, I don't know who any of these people are.
So I'm just going to, my nerd gland is tingling here. I said it's the 4th Royal Rumble. I'd just like to make a slight correction here, because you mentioned it a couple of times. It's technically the 5th Rumble, but I'm only classing it as the 4th because the first one wasn't a pay-per-view. The first one in '88 was just on regular sort of wrestling, not wrestling challenge, but it was on like its own show. So yeah, technically it's the 5th Rumble, but so don't at me, nerds. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify
in the grand scheme of things,
infancy.
Yeah, it's very much when you're trying to coordinate that many people in a ring, coming in and out, doing it 5 times isn't exactly. You've not nailed the formula, and it's that for me was probably the most evident in this. Because
Well,
it
you,
did
you
feel
also
like. Go on.
you jumped ahead a little bit because you talk about Roddy Piper being in there. Just to talk about the next five people: Greg Valentine, Nikolai Volkov, Big Boss Man, and Hercules, and then Roddy Piper. So we have sort of jumped ahead a little bit. Roddy Piper does come in a little bit later, but to be honest, this time in the Rumble, it's all very much the same. Very much forearms, chops, eye poke, sort of fuck people over a little bit.
Yeah.
We're just building to when we can get a lot of these people out and have
Dangle them on the top,
Yeah.
push them over a little bit.
Yeah,
Just felt very, very chaotic. And like I said, as someone who didn't know a lot of these characters, there wasn't a lot of discernment. No one was doing anything particularly like identifiable. I'd say when it came to gear, other than Repo Man, obviously stood out like a sore thumb. But I loved
and a
him. I thought he
bullfighter
was.
with bright pink boots.
I thought, what?
And a bullfighter with bright pink boots.
The Matador.
He didn't. I still don't know who you're on about. The Matador. Like,
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Didn't notice him. The
think we're about ready for a break.
I noticed. Obviously, Shawn Michaels had the white pants on, and Repo Man was just so funny to me. I absolutely loved him.
I love the Reaper Man too. Let's pause it there, and then let's come back and do the second half of the Rumble in a few moments. Okay, so we've got Roddy Piper facing off against Ric Flair at this point. Everyone else has been eliminated. Lauren, did you appreciate Roddy Piper a little bit more in the actual Rumble match than you did earlier on in the Mountie match?
A little bit, yeah. I think his sort of it bugged me that he was no selling so much. I don't like that sort of style. The amount of stuff he was like just standing back up from or like not reacting to, just wound me up a little bit because it's. I'm guessing it's like his thing, but
one of his many things. He has a lot of things.
It was just it's one of them. It's not some. If I see anyone do it now, I'm like, it's just not. It's not that it's not sportsmanly because but it's not like
it's shitting on the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. No, that's fair enough. I mean, at the time, I don't know if you felt the same way, Gav, but because a lot of us knew that Roddy Piper and Ric Flair had this history in the territories, it was such a big thing to see Piper and Flair going one-on-one, which is very, very exciting, which is the whole reason why the ring sort of empties at that point. And it's just to sell that moment. I'd have liked there to have been a monster heel to have come in at that point, like The Undertaker, who we're going to see later, to have cleared people out. But everyone just kind of sort of spilled out all around the same time, which is a little bit annoying. So next, we've got Jake the Snake Roberts, Saw Jim Duggan, Erwin R. Shyster, IRS, Superfly, Jimmy Snuka wearing long pants, which is weird, and The Undertaker, who is still a heel at this point, but very soon to be babyface. Nostalgia gland, Gav? What do we think? Did that hit?
Time, as soon as that was a big one. And to be fair, I liked IRS.
Yeah, I did too. I really liked IRS. Lauren, do you know who IRS is and who he's the father of?
Yeah, it's Rotunda. Rotunda, isn't it? It's
Wyndham Rotunda, as in Bray Wyatt
father.
And Bo Dallas. Absolutely, yeah.
I actually said that to Gav at the time. I was like, that is Wyndham Rotunda, right? But yeah, this was probably my favourite little collection of people. Weirdly.
I get it.
I liked like the IRS sort of character and the way he came in. Obviously, Undertaker. I've not seen much of Undertaker like this far back. And who else did you say came? Oh, Hacksaw Jim Duggan is someone that I have never seen before, but he's someone that ever since I started going to British wrestling, there was a thing from Progress years ago, from unboxing. I can't even remember how it started, whether there was a rumour that he was booked or people were asking for him to be booked. I honestly can't remember, but Hacksaw Jim Duggan's just constantly being like a running joke of whenever anyone said there's a mystery opponent or something like that, it's always been, oh. So I was excited to see him come into the Rumble.
He's still on shows, so it's entirely possible that one day he will just randomly be there. Allegedly a lovely man. A couple of my friends have met him. One of them was a handler of his at For the Love of Wrestling. Lovely man, apparently, which is very nice to hear because he looks like a lovely man. So this is what we were talking about earlier. Number 21. Macho Man Randy Savage running out like a house on fire. Everyone else was sort of doddered to the ring. This really made an impact. Again, this is the first big story other than the Rumble itself, which has happened on this show. Almost immediately jumps over the top rope and eliminates himself. I
like it because it shows he didn't care about the match. He just wanted Jake. That's all he wanted.
And you know what? Had that have been the plan, absolutely, but it definitely wasn't the plan because commentary were really trying to go like, oh well, I think he's out. Yeah. No, he isn't. It's fine.
Oh no. The rules say this.
See,
yeah.
We got into a bit of a discussion about this, me and Gav, when it happened because I am 98% sure that
that's incredibly sure.
It is when WWE have the announcers talk through the rules of the Royal Rumble. Currently, the rules state that you are eliminated. A competitor is eliminated when they are thrown over the top rope and both feet hit the floor. And if I remember rightly, it does specify thrown over the top rope. And I questioned Gav as to whether this had always been the rule or whether this match is the cause for that particular stipulation.
So there are three big instances of this happening, and it's massively inconsistent. So the other two instances, I'll say, were planned. So Andre the Giant eliminated himself because he was afraid of Jake the Snake Roberts' snake once, and that was done because they didn't want to say anyone was powerful enough to get rid of him. A few years after this, Mil Mascaras jumps over and eliminates himself because no yob. He said he didn't want to. He didn't want to have anyone throw him over the top rope because he's such a megastar in Mexico. So these are the three big ones, but Randy Savage's was absolutely an accident, and they were obviously clamoring because, spoiler alert, he is in the Final Four, and he is about to play into WrestleMania 8 because he's in the Final Four, so they could not mess with it. But yeah, very much an accident. As far as precedent goes, very, very higgledy-piggledy on whether or not this is actually the case. And yes, I did just use the words higgledy-piggledy. So I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that someone's on the mic to the commentators going, you better cover this 100%. Quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they could have just rolled with it, Gav's sort of version of the story of it being sort of, oh, he doesn't care about the Rumble, he just wants Jake, would have been great. But you can tell they're desperately trying to recover what was clearly a momentary lapse of...
Yeah.
But it happens quite often. Like I've seen people literally have just watched a promo from Lally where they're talking about the Eve Multiverse Rumble and they're dressed as superheroes and Holly's like, oh, in these outfits we can fly over the top rope. And Lana's just like, no, you idiot, we'll get eliminated. Like, that's how you get eliminated and lose. But it does happen, and it's something that
it does happen.
I think again plays into the psychology of understanding wrestling and understanding a rumble. And having been in training sessions and stuff recently planning rumbles, it's something that people don't think of. They go to do like their signature or the finisher and they will climb themselves to the top turnbuckle, and you're like, you would never do that because that risks you being put over. Whereas if you're thinking on the fly, not Superfly,
and pants.
It's
that's
too easy
not
to
the
do.
worst thing he's ever.
Let's not talk about the worst thing he's ever done. God, yeah, please, let's not go down that route. Yeah, sorry, just as well. I've made a little note on this one. Did anyone see the low blow on the Undertaker that he just completely no sold?
Yes.
Yeah,
that was fun. Very fun.
I also I had my observation with Undertaker. Obviously, he is so well known for the character and him being so dedicated to the character. And something that you see in Rumbles quite often is people get swept up with the momentum of the Rumble. And you get bigger guys who are supposed to be the sort of lumbering giants that can't really move, end up diving at someone in a corner to ground and pound them, and they kind of lose their character a little bit, whereas it was very... Undertaker was still very, very Undertaker. Like, there were moments where he was on his own, and rather than do what people are trained to do now of grab the nearest person in the corner and batter them, he just stalked the ring.
Very much he pulled his glove down and
everything
he's always
very,
done that very
purposeful,
well.
Which was why it upset me so much when the way he got eliminated was one of probably the weakest clotheslines I've ever seen, and him taking 3 steps back before he barrels backwards over the top rope.
Yeah, but he also no-sells it. Like, he doesn't fall, he lands. So I do think that's good in a way. I understand what you're saying, but I liked it because it's like, I've lost my footing there, but I'm still pissed off and I'm still dead.
It amazes me how slim he was.
Yeah.
Like, you imagine it, I remember him being such a big guy, but he really wasn't that big then.
He was quite lanky at the time. Did you ever see him wrestle as Big Red?
Yeah.
As Big Red, he was very thin. One of the skyscrapers as well, a little bit later.
You can see he was obviously a basketballer and he chose wrestling over basketball. You can just see it.
Yeah, I've got a body of a basketball. No, sorry, I don't have a body of a basketballer. I just like to play it. So next out, we have...
You're going to finish that when you've got the body of a basketball.
How very dare you? And that is 100% true.
That was where I thought you were going with that.
I've somewhat got the complexion of a basketball as well. I'm quite red-faced today for some reason. Anyway, next out, we've got the Berserker, we've got Virgil, we've got Colonel Mustafa, also known to you, Lauren, as the Iron Sheik, in case you hadn't put that together, and the model, Rick Martel, one of the most underrated guys in wrestling as far as I'm concerned. What do you think about these guys? Anyone? Lauren?
Did you remember them? Do you even
recognize any of those people?
See, I've watched this section of the Rumble twice because I was falling asleep during this last night.
Oh, right in the home stretch as well.
So
no, I don't even care. Then I'm moving on from you, Gav. What do you think?
I did like the model. He's a good heel. Always with the spray thing and the
arrogance.
It worked. He was really, really good. I never... The whole General Adnan thing with Hussein being... I never got that because my dad was in the army at the time.
Sure.
So I kind of was a bit weirded out by it. Because obviously for me it was very real.
Yeah.
So I was a bit...
Did you hear the story about General Adnan wrestling Andre the Giant? Just for you, Lauren, we're not talking about the Iron Sheik right now. We're talking about the manager, Adnan Al-Kaisi. He wrestled Andre the Giant in the early 80s, I believe, or it could have been late 70s. Do you know about this, Gav?
No.
Right, so he does it in his home country, I think I'm 90% sure this was before the administration changed to a sane. But he wrestling Andre the Giant in his home country. Andre was supposed to win that match because it's Andre, but they were so worried that they had to change it because he was getting legitimate death threats because people thought it was real. So they changed it last minute, and
Wow.
Adnan Al-Kaisi went over clean, and that's big for Andre the Giant because Andre the Giant typically did not lose. So just a little bit of a snippet there for you.
Go over clean as well. Like there's one thing sort of losing, but to lose.
Yeah, big news that. So let's move on, considering Lauren don't care about any of those people. So next out, we've got Hulk Hogan, Skinner, Sergeant Slaughter, Justice, and the Warlord as the final entrant. So the first thing I want to talk about is, did everybody see Sid Justice launch Sergeant Slaughter into that ring post?
Oh, yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah. He's a fan boy.
Noise that made.
He's powerful.
It's certainly something. So, Lauren, obviously, you won't have seen much of the OG Hulk Hogan, who is the biggest star in this match at that point. This is also the last time we would see him compete in a Royal Rumble match. What did you think?
I enjoyed this last sort of section. I was paying attention again by this point. I think obviously Hulk made me sort of wake up and watch because obviously he is
charisma.
Separate the art from the artist. He is what you think of with wrestling. And you can still see that even though he's clearly sort of 1 foot out the door. It's obvious why he is the superstar. He gets in a ring and he takes all eyes. He drags all eyes to him. He's that charismatic. Sergeant Slaughter, I really liked. I like that he's just such a different character, and it's like that fine line of serious, but can it really be serious?
He was the only wrestler with a G.I. Joe figure for a very, very, very long time.
He was actually the character in the cartoon.
He was it. Exactly, and that's what caused the fallout with Vince McMahon Sr. to begin with. Wonderfully charismatic gentleman. I'm a big fan of Sergeant Slaughter. He's another one that did a lot of death matches back in the day as well, with Corporal Kirshner and a few others in AWA and Memphis, etc. A good deep dive watch if you ever get a chance. What do you think about Sid Justice?
I was always a massive fan of him. Always. He just had that presence. And he did look unhinged. He genuinely used to scare me. But yeah, he's...
For me, when he came into the ring, it was like when Bulldog came in, it was obvious that you had that sort of dominant, he was the big guy. Hulk may have been the face, but he was the one that was going to come in and he was going to decimate people. And obviously did.
Yeah, almost killed Sergeant Slaughter. Yeah, I have a lot of love for Sid Justice and Sid Vicious when he was in WCW as well. A man that can talk literally through his teeth and not make it come off silly is just incredible charisma. Originally, the guy that they wanted to sort of take over from Hulk Hogan, but the stars did not align, and he would be gone from the company.
He went to play baseball.
Yeah, he had a big thing with softball, but in later years, people have suggested that really he didn't like spending any time away from his family, and that was the real reason, which I can understand. Very, very gnarly injury with him. If you haven't seen it in the latter end of WCW, he dives off the top rope to do a kick and breaks his leg on a live pay-per-view, and it is gross. Hulk Hogan acting like a total heel when he was in this match, choking people with his shirt, eye raking, etc., which is something he always did, but no one really seemed to care. But when he is finally eliminated, Lauren, I don't know if you could tell this because it has been edited, in the original pay-per-view, he was getting booed out the building and Sid was getting cheered, so they had to edit that to try and appease him. There was a thing that there was always Hogan must pose. So if you notice at the end, Ric Flair, when he does eventually win, he goes into the back to do a promo with the live audience.
The winner stays in.
Exactly that. But Hogan must pose. Hogan and Sid facing off. That was deemed to be the bigger sort of story there. So there you go. And really, Hogan being a heel, pulling his friend out as well, didn't do him any sort of favors on that. When did you guys first think, well, Flair's going to win this now?
About entrant number 4.
Yeah.
Because the commentary did not shut the fuck up about him.
It had never happened before. That's the thing. It was unheard of for someone that low a number to win previously.
But they only done it 4 times. It didn't need to be mentioned 27 times.
Not to quote Booker T here, but it was 5 times. Yes. What about you, Gav? At the time, did you realise Flair was destined for championship gold?
I don't think I did at the time, because at the time I definitely would have thought it was Hogan or Sid. I would have done, I think. But obviously, looking at it with eyes now, the commentary gave it
it away.
Yeah, just too much. But the fact that Heenan was like, "Oh, I'll be good forever if he wins," and not just didn't shut up about it.
Well, it was actually Bobby Heenan's idea to have him win it. I don't know if you knew that. And he positioned it, and he actually wanted Flair to come out at number 1, but they said, "Don't come out at number 1. It's going to be way too obvious. Come out at number 3. It's an unassuming number. People won't expect it." But yeah, they do telegraph it a little bit. But this is one of the reasons why I love this pay-per-view so much, is because it is a simple storytelling dynamic of one guy going through the lot of it. And one of my friends, her little girl has recently been introduced to wrestling. Her name is Ripley, after the Aliens character, and I saw a lot of joy in her eyes when she was watching a Royal Rumble, because she didn't necessarily understand the rules for regular matches, but Royal Rumbles are dead easy to understand for a kid, and that gave me a new appreciation for it as well. Right, so I think you can probably understand where I'm coming from with this. I still think this is one of the best wrestling pay-per-views of all time. Well, I'm going to change what I said slightly there. Best Rumble match of all time. I think the rest of the card can pretty much get in the bin.
Yeah.
The Rumble match itself, I think, stands as the very best Rumble match. I know everyone talks about 97. I also enjoyed 97. But for me, storytelling-wise, star power-wise, I just think this is it. Before we go to Lauren, who I'm very interested in her thoughts about it, Gav, what do you think, having watched it for the first time in many years?
We're living in an age where wrestling is a lot better, thankfully. It's amazing. Like, when I remember being kind of bullied as being a wrestling fan, and everyone was going, "Oh, it's fake." Yeah, sorry, you can see it is. Now, it's not so obvious. It really isn't. And that's the big thing I've took from it. It's more staged and a lot more. It is like a drama, like a soap.
I'd just like to talk yet again about the Repo Man and El Matador. Are you saying those weren't realistic characters? Ariba.
I'm sure I've seen him outside looking at the car before, you know. He's been trying to nick our car a few times.
Did he smash a window? You know,
he might have done.
Okay, fair enough. What about you, Lauren? This is the first time you've pretty much seen this era of wrestling. So I want to know what you thought about it. I want to know, would you go back and watch other stuff from this era? Would you recommend it to other people?
I would definitely suggest people go back and watch some of the older stuff. because it gives you an appreciation of the new stuff, and you can see where things have evolved from, and sort of understanding the roots of wrestling. I definitely wouldn't just go back and randomly watch stuff. I would probably speak to people who have not only watched it at the time, but who have gone back and rewatched,
reappraised, yeah,
and find the stuff that's worth watching. I mean, it was very different sort of time frames, but obviously when Gav got into British wrestling, I had to take him back through a lot of the histories, and I had to take him back through like all of Progress and TNT and stuff like that. So we went through the Progress catalogue, and I went through Cage Match and picked out specific matches that told him stories or specific hit points that still are relevant today. And I think that is exactly what I would suggest people do if they want to go back and watch old stuff. There's their common things that obviously everyone knows about, of the Taker streak and the huge WrestleMania feuds and stuff like that. But I definitely think it's worth going and watching other stuff. And I think I found it quite interesting that you guys sort of rubbished the Natural Disasters Legion of Doom match when I enjoyed it so much, and it has honestly really made me want to go and watch more of their stuff. The fact that you guys were both so disappointed with how the two tag teams performed in that match, it's honestly sort of piqued my interest even more in them. As Gav said, we definitely live in a different age. Watching how loose some of the sleeper holds were, and like the amount of non-eliminations that happened of someone just laid across the top rope with someone holding them in. There was no reason why they shouldn't have gone over the top rope. There was nothing holding them back apart from the person who was supposed to be throwing them over. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm glad I live in the wrestling age that I do, because it is so much more believable. But I understand now a lot more why so many people have that, oh, it's fake. Because you can see it. If anyone has grown up watching this generation, it was very much geared for kids, and it was so much more of an act. There was so much less sort of brutality to it, and it was very much a stage show.
It's funny you say this, because what you're saying is echoing lots of the NWA fans at the time. Because whereas, yeah, you have picked up on a lot of the cartoony stuff, it wasn't always like that. So it isn't the natural progression that you sort of are maybe believing it is. There was a very very weird and abrupt jump in that sort of style, because if you watch the National Wrestling Alliance, prior to sort of 1985, it was a very, very different product. It was very, very realistic looking. People did believe it, and people protected kayfabe a lot more. But Vince McMahon, sort of very early into his ownership of WWF, sort of made the decision to jump to a more cartoony show, and a lot of people actually think that killed the business.
Well, it was one of them. Even though kayfabe was protected, still, it was a watered down product because they're trying to make it more mainstream. You can understand exactly why Vince did what he did. You can see the aims that he had, but it clearly didn't work, and it's taken them a long. Well, it didn't. It didn't. It gave it.
It did in the short term.
Yeah.
It brought professional wrestling to prominence, thanks to people like Cyndi Lauper, Rocky III, the Rock and Wrestling Connection. It really did bring wrestling to the forefront of entertainment. The subculture is the thing that's been far more consistent in that. And I'd really like to go back and watch some NWA stuff with you at some point to see the counterpoint to this, because again, like I was saying, Vince McMahon was hated by a lot of people for the type of product that he was putting on. And there was a lot more serious professional wrestling going on the other channel a few short years prior to this. Right, I think I'm done talking about Royal Rumble 1992. Gav or Lauren, have you got anything to add?
I don't think so. I think we've definitely covered it. But if anyone's got any ideas, put them in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, like, just before Steve signs this off, obviously, Steve's mentioned Rumble 97, which has piqued my interest already. If you guys that are watching this, if you've made it through this entire thing, thank you. Again, I apologise for the horrendousness of my camera and what it's been doing. But if you've enjoyed this, if you want to see more, if you want me to go back and watch Royal Rumble 97,
or anything,
if anyone has any other suggestions of stuff where I've been talking about the touch points of the history that people need to understand, if you guys have got suggestions of what that entails to you, drop them in the comments, send us a DM on Talk the Line, comment on the Instagram, whatever. Let us know what you want to see me watch, because I have seen next to nothing. NXT, I'm all there. Anything before that, I know nothing. So, yeah, help these guys educate me. If you want to see more episodes, we will make a brand new series of this. And, yeah, we'll go through whatever you suggest.
Hashtag educating Lauren. Thank you so much for joining us today. One final thing, I'd just like to yet again ask that Louis does not Google Genius. And thank you, and have a pleasant day or evening, depending on when you are listening to this.
Yep. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.